Hello everyone, welcome to Satsang. For those who are not aware, we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your messages directly to me. We have made some changes in our schedules. We'll try to maintain this time also, because it is a good time for those who are in a different time zone towards our left, as United States, East, West Coast, and beyond. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's make some silence first. Okay, so I'll just make a little. There's someone here in Portuguese, I'll just speak. O satsang em português será quinta-feira às 9 da manhã, hoje será em inglês, tá bom? Okay, so today I will bring a question which was made in the satsang in Portuguese. And it is interesting for everyone to listen, because there are some reminders that these questions bring that are a need for the majority of seekers these days. Okay, so Sriman Narayana, I managed to practice a little bit more these days, and it came to me exactly the thought that the quest for happiness is a mistake. I feel that liberty is the goal. How to maintain that goal perfectly clear and alive in our lives. It seems that I get lost and I go back to building the material life. I think about the house, the work, retirement. Uh, in fact, there is a need to get those material means that surround us, but how to balance that without attaching to it, and mainly how to maintain the real goal alive and clear. So if I would say that uh, if you have uh, these material supports that support human life, uh, money, safety, comfort, and all these things. If I would say that to a certain extent you have to have these things, then everybody agrees. Hmm? So this mindset, it's something which is shared by everybody. But the seeker of truth is not just anybody. Hmm? He is in the quest to touch, to live, to dissolve into the divine. This is his quest. So the baby steps are given with your hand into the mother or the father's hand, side by side. So the baby steps for the seeker of truth are also in the same way. The difference is the hand that is holding the seeker of truth is the hand of God. And he is the one who is guiding, will start guiding that life. And for you to be able to see, to be able to let go of your vision of the world, of your attachments and all of this, you need to trust and surrender completely to that hand which is guiding. But if you're too busy taking care of your life, how will you see the magic? You won't. As you start intensifying your spiritual practices, eventually your fears will start coming up, situations will start coming up for you to experience these fears, and this material security will be eventually will become an important issue. But the goal of the seeker of truth is not to take care of these things. It is not this. He has to surrender to the divine eventually at some point, because or else it's just playing games. For those who are entertaining themselves into a life where they have their bills, they have to pay this and that and all of these things, how much time are you really dedicating? You have 24 hours available daily. How much is it going towards your quest for truth, and how much is it going to supporting the body complex? For those who have studied the spiritual laws and the principles that assist human life, and for those who are seeking freedom, this is the most important thing. For those who are seeking freedom, they are seeking freedom from what? From the wheel of samsara, as they say. And how did you arrive to this point that you have to be on the quest for freedom? Surely because you're stuck into that wheel of samsara. So this quest for security is a quest based on the belief that you have to fight for yourself, to strive, to maintain yourself, to be alive. On the other hand, you're fighting for truth, for awakening, for breaking this prison, this ignorance prison, to get away from samsara. So this is conflicting. These are conflicting ideas, because for the one who's in the quest for truth and knows it's not easy, and it may take one or more lifetimes for those who have studied all these things. So it becomes clear that leaving this is the difficult part. So you're fighting for that which is granted. You look around and people are living different lives, and some are working and working a lot and don't have nothing. Others are not working and have abundance. There are different things going on. So what is the science underneath it? What is it? Some die, some live, some get born. These things are observed. But for the one who is trying to awaken, who is trying to be free from the wheel of samsara, he knows that it is difficult to be free from the wheel of samsara, to be free from human life with all its characteristics. This is the difficult part. So by fighting for your survival, you are like negating, I don't know if this word exists in English, but you're going against your quest for truth, because you're affirming that it is really easy to live, because if you don't work, if you don't do this, then you'll perish and die. When the thing that you have more guaranteed is the continuing of human life, this is guaranteed. Unless you break with the grip of samsara, human life continues. In what circumstances? Those more or less are already set. The horizontal journey is more or less set. It is the upward journey that can or cannot happen. Let's put this like this, mildly. It's not an absolute concept. So you spend more or less, I will be nice, 80% of your time to maintain yourself safe, to guarantee your future, the future of the character, and the family future, and all these futures. And at the same time, you're struggling to stop that future. So where do you think this is going? And where does the divine fit into that scenario? And when these subjects come up, your deep beliefs about this arise. No, but we have to, and all of these fears. And if you embrace them, well, that will be your reality. You see, for those who are under guidance, for those who are under grabbing the hand of the divine, of God, probably they will not have what they think they need, but surely they will have all that they need. And they cannot have more, because first they have to let go of their world. They have to let go of those beliefs about attachment to own suffering and all those things that keep you from the magic, from seeing the magic, from living the magic. Once this is removed, then magic can be contemplated. Then no need for these limitations, whatever they may be. So 80% of time being nice, I'm being nice. 80% of time you're using it to take care of your survival. 20% of time, yes, I'm being too nice. Okay, 10% of time, the other 10 I'll put into the sleeping account. 10% of time you're using into your freedom quest. So through your actions, what are you really affirming? Which futures are you ensuring, really? By putting 80% of time ensuring the life and future security, safety, and well-being of the character, and 10% assuring the future of freedom. Even for those who are not good at math, I think it will not be a very big challenge to understand how your life is contradicting, because your beliefs, where you're investing your time, this is where you're saying, this is really what I believe to be true. So your actions count. But now let's go back a little bit to the beginning stages of the seeker of truth. If he's in the journey of awakening, there is a purpose for it. To live, to be able to live the divine romance until freedom. But for that, faith, trust, surrender has to be there. Your whole security, everything you need, you should put in the hands of God. If you don't like God or the divine, whatever. And another thing, that life where you're putting 80% of your work, your attention, your, how do you say this, your okay, your worries and all your energy and everything. And in this case, the question came that by doing this, by investing in these circumstances, it is very difficult to get distracted with the work and home and security, retirement, and all of these things. Well, because most of time also, it's not just only about the investment, the 80 versus 10. It's not just about that. It is also about the circumstances, the context in which this is happening. And for the majority of you, this happens in a worldly environment, surrounded by worldly people in worldly lives, normal lives, which is normal in that circumstance. So the environment, which is much alive, every environment is alive, and every environment is enriched by the presence of those who are sharing it, like collective consciousness of a group, for example, and you are drinking from it. So if you're in an environment where people are seeking money and all of this, you are drinking for this, from this, and this becomes your goal also. Because your body mind is always transforming according what to what the senses are capturing, to what the mind is capturing, what the body is getting. It is normal, it is always transforming. This is why there are so many yogic disciplines to make the body and the mind more suitable for the quest of truth because of these laws. So sharing a worldly environment, these are, which is termed into yogic language, sanskars that you are getting. Let us call it the mental impressions. So you're meditating, purifying your mind, making it more silent. And at the same time, you are absorbing all these noises, agitations, anxieties from the environment around you, these worldly goals that are there. For those who are in the beginning, this makes a lot of a difference. There are a few exceptions, yes, that this is not so much, but still it is there. Still it is there. The only ones who are not in the grip of this are those who are being kept in that worldly environment because guidance is telling them to be there, and they don't want to be there. They do not want anything else from that. They are being there because they are being told to stay there. And as they don't have any interest in that, those mental impressions don't touch them, not the least. For the rest, this is the mechanics of how it works. And everybody has seen during these years that there has been a big movement of people, of spiritual seekers, trying to find uh, alternatives. So a lot of spiritual communities have born. Uh, People have moved into the countryside where more or less they can become a little bit more independent or not depending so much about these worldly places. And of course, there have always been ashrams, but this is a little more restrict because this is about a master in particular and that relationship. But there's a lot of different things that fit everybody's needs. And yes, people can say that this can also become a distraction. Yes, it can, but the level of distraction is much less than those at the worldly. Can I finish this sentence? There are places, yes, that you can still do this. There's a lot of places that you cannot because the alternative is just a name. But still there is, and those who are serious, they will find their path. So instead of putting all your sweat and time into this security, the best would be for you to establish a relationship with God, with the divine, with your master, whatever, and uh, putting yourself, surrendering yourself to that, to your path, to your quest for truth. And trusting, having faith that whatever you need, it will be provided. And when you do manage to do this, then you will be able to see it. Because if you are waiting to see it before you do this, you won't. So this subject is of utmost importance because this relationship with the divine, this is the bridge, see? Because identity is just one. There is the character, there is identity, and the character is born because of this confusion between identity and bodily mind characteristics. It's like a veil, it's called like a veil, more or less. And truth, it is identity at its fullness. It's like amnesia and without amnesia. And God is your highest self. It is the bridge between uh, illusion and reality. It's difficult to make these schematics because, well, they worth what they worth, but okay. So this relationship of love and devotion and surrender, it is the bridge of the worldly to the divine, and that which make possible the dissolution of this character. And this starts with the baby steps of surrendering, of transferring all your safety, all your needs, focusing only on the spiritual path, and let the rest be taken care of. Okay, René, I have wondered since going through so much for so long alone, if there's a place for after one has few questions left, who has few questions left to ask. I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question. If you can elaborate a little bit more, that will help. So I will wait for you to elaborate a little bit more about this, because English is not my first question. Maybe not yours also because of the name that I'm seeing here, but if you can. But I will make a little comments if waiting for your completion here. If you can elaborate a little bit better your question, that will be useful. But the period of questions in the life of the seeker of truth, it's not so big, so big, so big. It's not, it persists and remains uh, as this connection towards the divine or connection towards your master or whatever in the absence of this. Because when this connection is made, then another process starts, which is not about, it's not about asking questions. It is different, completely different. It is the connection, the attunement increasing. And everything, all circumstances revolve around this. Acho que ele Okay. I had a Kundalini awakening 2 years ago. But what did you meant about this? Oh, he's writing again. Okay, okay, so I'll wait a little bit. Let us wait. Hmm. I have been deep in study and change of behavior patterns, etc. Life has changed from material to spiritual. Okay, Renee, but what were you talking about here? What do you mean about, is there a place, if there's a place for, after one has few questions left, who has few questions left to ask, do you mean a place to live? Is this what you're talking about? Because okay, so let's, okay, I will wait for the rest. I will continue. So as you establish this relationship, uh, if there's a place intended for you to be, you will be directed to this. But if this relation is not, has not happened yet, then there's a gap. There's a gap because it cannot move forward, because the moving forward changes from this mental questioning to tunement. So the initial contact with the master, for example, asking questions, getting answers and directions to work this and that and this and that, this is just the stage. But the real thing, that that which is most important, is tunement. Tunement. This is the most important thing. And for those who are serious and have reached this stage of establish this relationship with the divine, then the place will be directed. Uh, is it to be closer to the master? Is it to be in a community away from worldly uh, goals, worldly people? Is it to be in a place of alone from everybody else so that you don't waste your time with other people? That depends on your personal needs, but there's always, always a place for every seeker of truth. There's always that. Okay. Nervous. A spiritual community, yes. Nervous, this I didn't understand. Not because I want to worship or follow a person, but follow God. But isn't the person God also? You see the difference. Yes, I understand the difference, but understand this. All these worries, it is because of the lack of this connection. Because if you're really connected to God, for example, you don't need to worry about these things and you'll be directed. So why worry if you if you don't want to worship a person or whatever? But you see a person. What is a person? So seekers say this all the time. I am the divine. I am the one. I am that. I am the truth. All of this. But when it comes to devotion, the other is a person. What is the logic of this? If you're seeing, uh, if your eyes are seeing a person, then it is a person. If your eyes are seeing God, then it is God. So the vision that you will have will be according to your fears, to all these things, to your beliefs. to the way that you need to see the world, because this is very particular. Okay. And you see, when the process becomes alive, you only look where guidance is telling you. So if the relationship is not there, then you're lost. You have to evaluate this and evaluate that. This is why I keep on repeating, intensify your practice, because this is the safe path. And by safe, I don't mean that fears will not be there. No, the safe, that means that you can come, that the process can become alive, really, not just a mental quest. And you can touch the life of the process. You can touch the divine. You can feel the presence. And you can receive the guidance. Then your worries are to be able to follow the guidance, not to be choosing what to do, where to go, and all of this. It changes, becomes alive, it becomes real. But if you choose to abide by those worldly values and taking care of your life, so there's no room for magic, no room for blessing, no room for the divine. It will not fit your world. And by leaving that, you may have ideas, naive ideas about the needs that you have and they should be taken care of. You will have to go through these things and to see that it is not like that. But what you really need will be there. And always, always giving you an opportunity to break a little bit more of your world. Always. Because or else it would not be constructive. It is about dissolution of the character. Nothing else. So this need for safety, comfort, this is from the point of view of the character, the one that is ensuring his future with all his investments. So eventually, in one way or another, for things to become alive, real, you will have to go. You will have to go through these spheres of security, short-term, middle-term, long-term security. And the more and more your safety should be into God's hands, into the divine. And if you're really established into this relationship with the divine, no matter what comes in front of you, good or bad, in your assumption, in your judgment, it is God's will. And there is something there that you need to learn, or some bills you need to pay, whatever. And it is for your utmost good, higher good. And some things, a lot of things you will not like. But if that connection is established, you know that it is for your good. So this is one reason why WhatsApp is much better, because it comes directly, so it makes the communication more fluid. Like this, they have to send it to me because I'm not watching, so it takes a little bit more time. So the bigger point um, in this separation, 80% ensuring the life and future of the character, 10% trying to uh, bring freedom to the character, or freedom from the character, whatever you want to say. So in one way, you strive and you suffer a lot. Those who are sincere seekers, they suffer a lot, and it's quite lonely. It is quite lonely, quite difficult. And by the other hand, you're kind of ruining your efforts by affirming with these 80% that you're the body mind complex, that you need to assure your future because it is uncertain, and all of this and la la. When human life is guaranteed, it doesn't stop unless with freedom. Only with awakening does it stop. Or else you're just moving from one place to another and it doesn't stop. And by this 80%, you're saying that this is what you really believe. Not the other 10, not that freedom is possible, not those things. Your 80% speak much more louder. Okay. If this is your reality, then okay, it is like this. Yes, it is a big adventure. Big adventure. And the spiritual quest is an epic and a big adventure, like you're saying. And it's very difficult to live a big adventure, an epic, sitting on the couch and striving for security and for survival all the time, ignoring the basic teachings, the fundamental teachings of spirituality, of all these philosophies that are there to assist the preliminary stages of the quest for truth. Preliminary stages of the quest for truth. They are not truth in themselves, but they are giving you a better picture of illusion, a better notion of the mechanics of delusion. So at the end, the struggle between the seeker of truth and the seeker of well-being, that is, the quest for dissolution or the quest for securing the future of the character, these two, this struggle is at the center of it. But for those who are seeking truth, they must make the divine their solid grounds, their safety. Because doing practices and all of this and suffering with the same anxieties that worldly people do without surrendering, without anything of this, it doesn't go far. And this is why, this is the difficulty, why this 80%, 10%, why scripture says it takes a long time. It can be quick, but it can take a lot of lives also. Because it is a matter of, have you understood already? Because having complex philosophies and spiritual slogans in your brain, if you don't observe the obvious 80%, 10%, then what is the point? And being a seeker of truth has this divine romance standing in the front, this adventure to be lived. And it is there, available for those who dare. So these days, it is said that there's nothing to be done. And it is true. At some point, it will be true. But for those who are beginning, and they are much more than they think, uh, these choices, these stories, these changing circumstances, they are important. And when the things are set, then yes, abiding, staying, and deepening this divine connection, divine connection. But if you don't use the wisdom in your favor, you're trying to practice meditation and you don't give attention to the food that you eat, the rest, and people that you get in touch with, conversations, circumstances, and all of this, then you'll see, but I cannot maintain my practice. I cannot deepen it. I wonder why. There is a science to things. Everything has a science. So these philosophies for these preliminary stages, they are very important. The traditions, they should be respected, and they are there to support you in the first steps. But if you're still in spiritual diapers and you're dreaming about college, then you walk into a big car to go to college in your car, and you will be confused because your feet do not reach the pedals, and you cannot change hmm? It is like this. So faith, surrender, they are basics. And in the beginning, choosing the best circumstances for your practice to, and for your life to happen, your spiritual life, this is important. For those who is not possible, think it is not possible because they are in circumstances that they don't allow. If you cling on to God, if you cling to the divine, you will be surprised. You will be surprised. But if you cling on to those beliefs, it will be exactly the way you believe. That will be your experience, fully your experience. Okay, so for today, if there's no more questions about this, then we will end. So the next satsang will be Wednesday, 9 o'clock here in Brazil. That means UTC -3, and in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay? If you have any questions about this or about something else, you don't need to wait till satsang begins. There are some questions here. I will answer Wednesday, and we are going to test. We are testing these days to see, and these schedules, these times, to see if they are good for everybody. Okay. So until next time, intensify your practices, make it real for you. Podes desligar aí.